Every 4 years, Louisiana law requires parish assessors to conduct a reassessment of all property. This quadrennial report highlights the 2024 reassessment in St. Tammany Parish, showing where revenue comes from, how tax dollars are distributed, and how assessments, millages, and funding levels have shifted. In 2024, St. Tammany Parish collected more than $407 million in property tax revenue. You can see here how tax dollars in St. Tammany are divided among local taxing bodies. Numerous entities receive dedicated funding from this revenue. But where does the revenue come from? Homeowners. Residential properties continue to generate the largest share of revenue in St. Tammany. And this highlights the importance of fair and accurate residential assessments. In industrial parishes, most property tax revenue comes from commercial sources like refineries, plants, or casinos. But St. Tammany has chosen not to pursue heavy industry, and that puts the tax burden primarily to residential property owners. While much of the public conversation around property taxes centers on millage rates, many local services do also receive funding through parcel fees. These charges, levied per property or per acre, support drainage, lighting, fire protection, and more. So where does all this revenue go? In 2024, 44% went to public schools, nearly 20% went to fire protection, and less than 8% to law enforcement. Both schools and law enforcement also receive funding from local sales taxes, not just property taxes. Among the property tax dollars distributed, nearly 12% is allocated specifically to St. Tammany Parish government agencies, funding services like the library and the coroner's office, as well as the parish's general fund. With the exception of that fund, these are dedicated revenues, legally restricted for use only by the agency they're collected for. They can't be shifted to another purpose without voter approval. Now, let's look at who collects the most. Here are the top 10 taxing bodies in St. Tammany Parish, ranked by total property tax revenue in 2024. Together, they account for nearly 80% of all property tax dollars parish-wide. The top 3, public schools, law enforcement, and Fire District 1, collect nearly 60% of the total. And while some of these taxing bodies serve the entire parish, 4 of the top 10 only serve specific areas. This is especially evident when we look at fire protection services. Fire protection funding varies widely across St. Tammany Parish. In 2024, Fire Districts 1, 4, and 12 received 71% of all property tax revenue dedicated to fire services. The remaining 9 districts shared the other 29%, with several receiving less than 2% each. This breakdown highlights just how much funding levels can vary from one district to another, raising important questions about fairness, sustainability, and how best to serve all corners of our parish. Over the past 20 years, revenue for recreation districts has grown steadily, but that growth has kept pace with the parish overall. Recreation funding has consistently made up about 3% of total property tax revenue in each reassessment cycle. Now, let's look at the assessor's office itself. Proudly, we've shown a long-standing commitment to responsible fiscal stewardship, consistently making purposeful decisions to set our millage rate below the maximum allowed. We've lowered our rate in multiple reassessment cycles, taking a measured approach that's delivered meaningful, recurring savings for St. Tammany taxpayers, while setting an example of good governance for other taxing bodies to follow. Now let's step back and see where St. Tammany stands among Louisiana's 64 parishes. By comparing parish millage rates across Louisiana, we can see how St. Tammany stacks up statewide. In 2024, we ranked 9th in weighted average millage rates at 130.7 mills, down from 7th place the year before. That 8% drop was the 5th largest among all 64 parishes, reflecting a broader effort toward fiscal restraint. But here in St. Tammany, location plays a major role in what you actually pay. Property taxes aren't one-size-fits-all. The same house, with the same assessed value, can be taxed very differently depending on where it is located, because millage rates vary by district. Some areas of the parish pay taxes on under 100 mills, while others pay on mills that exceed 150. Where you live directly impacts what you pay in taxes. Notice the varying millage rates by taxing district and how, when calculated with your assessed value, they determine how much in taxes you pay. Now let's take a look at quarterly home sale prices in St. Tammany Parish. Notice the highlighted section. It marks the time frame assessors are legally required to use when valuing property for the 2024 reassessment, July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2023. While that period determines assessed values, the full chart shows a broader trend. Home prices remained strong before, during, and after the mandated window. Accurate assessments depend on more than just market sales. They also rely on reliable property data. Since launching our GIS project in 2013, building a complete geographic information system has been a top priority. By 2025, we identified and mapped more than 134,000 ownership parcels, creating a detailed digital foundation for St. Tammany Parish. This system has improved the accuracy of assessments, streamlined updates, and helped deliver a more complete and equitable tax roll. We've made the data publicly available and shared it with other parish agencies, so everyone benefits from this investment in transparency and service. Across the parish, that same focus on serving taxpayers can be seen in the way most agencies have handled their millages. Since 2012, most taxing bodies in St. Tammany Parish have rolled back their millage rates, delivering measurable savings to taxpayers. Over 70% of all rates were reduced, reflecting a strong parish-wide trend toward fiscal discipline and easing tax burdens. While that was the case for most, a few taxing bodies, mostly fire districts, chose to roll forward instead, resulting in higher millages and increased taxes. This reassessment reflects more than just numbers. It reflects the work we do every day to ensure accuracy, transparency, and public trust. That commitment is at the heart of our mission: to serve the citizens of St. Tammany Parish with fairness, efficiency, and responsiveness. We remain focused on that mission and on remaining dedicated to the people of St. Tammany Parish.